Hi, welcome to Lesson 9, and it's titled The Frequency Distribution. So I'm going to tell you what a frequency distribution is, and then we'll see that we actually have already done all the hard work. So a frequency distribution is tabular form of a histogram. It's the tabular display of the information in a histogram. Let me show you. So I have here this data set, and this is actually the same data set that we used in an earlier video when we made a dot plot. Then from the dot plot, we constructed a histogram with classes of width 2. So here's the data and then just a quick review. Remember then that what you do is you take and you put, for example, this first 3 represented by this dot, and then this 1 here was represented by that dot, and that was the process then by which we started stacking our dots, and we got this final dot plot. Then we took that and we said, oh, let's divide these in by bins of 2, and we said, well, we didn't want to split a dot. Let's do it in a different color. No one would want to be that dot that was split, and so what we did then is we said, all right, well, let's just split them in 2s. And we'll just, since our data is in whole numbers, we'll use the nearest half of a number as a very predictable and consistent divider. And so that's what we did. And then to go from the second step, the dot plot with the dividers, then what we did is we represented that picture by a histogram. And we removed the dots, and then we recorded the number of dots as the frequency. And that leads us to this picture that we have right here. Now, let's go with this. So, if you recall, we called the numbers here on the horizontal axis, this labeling of numbers, the numbers that divide, that split, or that make it so that the dividers don't split a dot. We called these the class boundaries. That's what these are called. These are our class. Actually, let me do it this way. So these are called our class boundaries. And so let's record those class boundaries. Okay, so I'm going to put a line under that. I'm going to carry this over. And then the other piece of information that I have here is my frequency. So I'm going to leave a little space because I'm going to come back and talk about this, is my frequency. And now let's just write these down. So for example, my first class has boundaries of 0.5 to 2.5. And it has a frequency of 3, so I record that over here. My next class has boundaries of 2.5 to 4.5. And that has a frequency of 3. My next class has boundaries of 4.5 through 6.5. And it has a frequency of, it looks like if you come back up here, it looks like it goes all the way up to 4. So it has a frequency of 4. Then my next class, we have to count that. We can't skip it just because it's a 0. It's just as important. From 6.5 to 8.5, we have a frequency of 0. And then from our last class goes from 8.5 to 10.5. And let's see, if I go over, oh yeah, that looks like a 1. So I have frequency of 1. I can put a line under all of this. And what do I have? And I can add these up. There's 3 plus 3 more. That's 6 plus 4 is 10. 10 plus 0 is still 10 plus 1 more. I have a frequency of 11. And notice that if I come up here and I count my data, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pieces of data. So it looks like I did a really good job. And actually, this right here, what we have just done, this is the most basic form of a frequency distribution. We have class boundaries and we have frequency. Now, let's put one more column in, and you can put quite a bit of information into a frequency distribution depending on what it is that you need. So let's do this one more time. Suppose that I didn't have these frequencies, and that I, instead of making a dot plot, that I just had the data. So in this same way that I made my histogram, then I would find the range. I want 5 classes, so I would take my 8, divide it by 5 to get 1.6, but then we said we always round to the next number that's the same units as our data. So 1.6 rounds to 2, and which is our next whole number. Since our data is in whole numbers, our class width is in whole numbers. And then what we would do is we might have been able to create, or actually we can create these class boundaries. Now, suppose then we didn't have that histogram and we didn't have that dot plot. Then what we might do is say, oh look, there's a 3. So I'm going to come down here and put a tick mark for the, put a tick mark in place for the 3. Then I'd come up here and say, oh, the next data is a 1. And so that would fall in my first class, so I'd put a tick mark for the 1. And I'd continue this process. I have a 4 and then a 1, so I have a 4 and then I have a 1, a 5 and a 9, so my 5 goes here, my 9 goes in this last one, 2 and a 6, so 2 goes in the first one, a 6 goes in the third one, and I have a 5, 3, and a 5, so the 5 goes in this third one, the 3 goes in the second one, 5 goes in this last one. And then using my tally, that's how I would use my tally. I could say, oh look, my frequency in the first class is 3, the second class is 3, third class is 4, fourth class is 0, and the last class is 1. And again, we could add those up, and we already know the result. The answer is 11. So that is our most basic frequency distribution that we could make. I'm going to stop the video here, and in the next video we're going to look at ways that we can add some more columns to our frequency distribution. Thanks for watching.